One day, Mary's little mommy went to the market, not to buy roast beef, but to buy tomatoes. She left these newly bought tomatoes in the kitchen and wandered off to talk to her grumpy friend Vera on the phone. Mary came in and saw the tomatoes, grabbed one, and stuffed it in her mouth. What Mary didn't know was that the unwashed tomato had a nasty, sicky germ on it. The germ filled Mary's body with sicky, giving her a really high fever and all kinds of ouchy, achy owies. But, oh lucky day, Rolando Locomotov heard the sicky germ's victorious evil laughter and rocketed in to help poor Mary. He kicked the sicky germ's microscopic backside and forced it out of Mary's body. Then he gave her some nice flowers to cheer her up, along with some darn good advice. Kids, Mary, Jerry, Gregory, Schmeggery, all of you, always wash fruits and veggies before you eat them. Most of them grow in dirt. Dirt. You know, the stuff they named after being dirty. So, scrub your veggies and fruit. Scrub them and rinse them with nice clean water. Remember, stay smart, stay safe, stay germ-free. One lovely summer day, Mary and Jerry were visiting Granny for the weekend. They had a fairly nice-tasting, nutritious breakfast, then skipped outside to pick flowers and stuff. They picked daisies and posies and pansies. Oh, it was great funsies. But then, rain clouds filled the sky. No biggie, said the kids. They weren't afraid of the dark. They didn't need much light to find bright-colored flowers. But then, it started raining and thundering. So the kids hid under a big tree. The storm got worse and worse. There were flashes of lightning all around them. Then, a lightning bolt crackled straight at them. And you guessed it, Rolando Locomotov saw the bolt, grabbed it in its path, and rescued the children before the lightning ever reached them. He gave the kids a nice umbrella and a fully functional garden hose for some reason. And then he said something like this. When lightning strikes, it usually aims for trees, especially the tallest ones. So, glorious children, never, ever hide under a tree during a thunderstorm. Getting struck by lightning is no fun at all. Trust me, I know. So, stay out from under the trees. Stay smart and stay safe. I've actually been struck by lightning 712 times. One hot, sunshiny day, Mary and Jerry went out to build super cool sand castles. The sun was working just as hard as the kids, though, pulsing down on their little heads for 3 hours straight. The kids stood up to shake the sand off of them, but everything looked weird and woozy. Their legs were like jelly, and their ears were like wah, wah, wah. They fell back down in the sand, making a teensy tiny little thwomp sound that nobody could possibly hear. Nobody, that is, but Rolando Locomotov, who just happened to be flying past at that very moment. He saw Jerry and Mary in the hot sand and took them into some shade so they could cool down. He put cold packs on their foreheads and gave them stylish paper hats. And this extra special nugget of wisdom. Wonderful children, Susan, Peter, Edmund, Lucy, don't stay out in the sun for too long on hot sunny days. Take a break in the shade now and then, or the sun could make you woozy and dizzy and even make you pass out. It's also a good idea to wear a hat in the sunshine. I like the ones with the propeller on the top. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay away from too much sun. One sunnyish day, Jerry and Mommy went to Granny's house. They skipped down to the river for a little fun in the sun. Mommy laid down to read some relaxing tax forms, and Jerry sailed his toy boat in the water. But a sudden gust of wind very rudely shoved the boat away from the bank. No worries, thought Jerry. He blew up his floaty and went into the water to save his boat. But sometimes, as it turns out, stoppers on floaties don't stay closed like they should. And this, dum-dum-dum, was one of those times. The floaty shriveled up, and Jerry cried out for help. But Jerry's mommy, who was taking her first nap in 12 years, didn't wake up. But Rolando Locomotov, alert and nosy as ever, heard Jerry's frightened voice and flew down to pull him from the river. He hoisted Jerry up from the water into his boat, drove him to shore, and dried the boy off with his super towel, and gave him this sound advice. Kids, Jerry, Mary, and all the rest as well. Never swim far from shore in your floaty thingies, because floaty thingies can quickly become sinky thingies. So remember, don't go out too far. Stay close to shore, and make sure to stay in sight of your grown-ups at all times. So stay smart and stay safe. And please, let Mommy get some rest every once in a while. She really needs it. One kind of boring day, Mary decided she wanted to play rude celebrity chef. She put on Granny's apron and started making soup. She filled a pot with water from Granny's crazy old pump, threw in some leaves and a big slimy mushroom, because rude celebrity chefs were always chucking mushrooms in their soup. But theirs weren't as pretty as Mary's big red one. When Mary finished her soup, Jerry came trotting up. Mary spooned him up a great big bowl, and Mary's rude chef face was so scary that Jerry ate every last bite, even though it tasted like sweat socks and lint. Ugh. But then Jerry turned a beautiful shade of green and fell to the ground, where his body made some extremely rude sounds. Luckily, Rolando Locomotov was chilling on a nearby roof and heard Jerry's digestive system calling for help. He flew down and washed all the sweat sock mushroom lint soup out of Jerry's tummy and gave him some medicine and a desperately needed breath mint. Then he said, "Kids, always remember to never ever eat any mushrooms or toadstools that you might find. The same goes for any berries you run across, because lots of mushrooms and berries are poisonous, and I might not be close enough to hear your tummy burping and frurping for help. So, stay away from mystery shrooms, stay smart, and stay safe!" One fairly normal day, Jerry was outside vroom-vrooming his truck around. It was just like a real truck, only slightly smaller. But then a stranger with a big fake smile on his face and huge, thick, meaty hands slank up to Jerry and his truck. He told Jerry he had an even cooler toy truck back at his place. He asked if Jerry wanted to play with it. Duh! Of course Jerry did! He followed the stranger to his car. The stranger helped Jerry into the passenger seat and then slammed the door. Then he drove away at unsafe speeds. Jerry was giggling and excited. He couldn't wait to see the even cooler toy truck. Suddenly, metal bars fell over the windows. Jerry began to suspect that maybe something wasn't quite right. The stranger ripped his happy face off and began laughing like Darth Hyena. But yee-haw-ha! Rolando Locomotov heard this laughter and ran it through his horoscope. The readings were off the chart. The superhero zipped to the car right away, captured the stranger, and rescued poor Jerry. And then he said this. "Okay, kids, listen up, because this is like super rule numero uno. Never accept a ride from a stranger. Not ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. Not ever, never, never, ever. Stay away from strangers. Stay smart and stay safe. One time, Mary and Jerry and all the neighborhood kids got together for a great big game of hide and seek. Jerry and Mary headed straight for the basement. They shut the door behind them, hid, and giggled like loony people. But just then, Mr. Rottenrot, the building manager, locked the basement door, leaving the kids hidden where none could seek. Pretty soon, it got dark, and the other kids went home. But Mary, Jerry, and their cat Harry were trapped. Oh, how they cried and wailed. But everyone outside thought it was just kitty cats mew-mewing. Well, everyone except Rolando Locomotov on his favorite listening around asteroid. He had a super app that could tell the difference between mewing and boo-hooing. He flew straight down and ripped the lock from the basement door, freeing the kids and Kitty from their accidental dungeon. He gave them some gingerbread cookies he had baked with his laser vision, along with some very important words to live by. Kids, Marys, Jerrys, Bennies, Jennies, Flo's, and Joe's. Everyone, if you find an open attic or basement door, or a door in another dimension, always remember to never, ever go through it. You could get trapped or trip on the clutter and get hurt. Basements and attics can be dangerous. Plus, most of them are dark and downright creepy. Ew. So stay out of them. Stay smart. Stay safe. Now everyone hide while I count to 30. One day at 4:37 p.m., Mary and Jerry were playing outside, scootering their sweet little heads off. Whee! Suddenly, some dudes showed up and installed a brand new swing set. Mary and Jerry forgot their scooters and ran to the swing. Mary got there first and swang as high as she could, pretending she was a trapeze artist in the circus. But Jerry wanted to swing too, darn it. He decided that Mary had swung long enough, thank you very much. So he ran right up to the swing so he could stop it and kick Mary off. But I think we all know that is not what was about to happen. Jerry was about to get creamed. But hark! Rolando Locomotov swooped down out of nowhere, dramatically averting the approaching disaster at the last possible moment. Yay! He pulled a second swing set out of his utility belt to Jerry's endless delight. Then he patted both children on the head and told them this. Kids, if someone is swinging on a swing set swing, here's the most important thing. Never get too close to them. Only walk up to them after the swing has stopped swinging. Otherwise, you might find yourself on the business end of a small human cannonball. Which is to say, you could get kicked really, really hard, and that would stink for everybody, especially you. So stay back, stay smart, and stay safe! One day, Mary and Jerry were playing outside. Mary was trying to teach Jerry the ancient, mysterious art of hopscotch. But then Mommy called them inside for a nice warm bowl of whatever she could find in the fridge chowder. Mary and Jerry got on the elevator to ride up to their floor. They pushed the 12th floor button, and up they went. Mary realized that the tile floor of the elevator looked kind of like a hopscotch course. She decided to continue Jerry's lesson. They hopped and hopped, and then the elevator stopped between floors. Oh no. Jerry and Mary called out for help, but no one could hear them through the thick elevator doors. Well, no one except for the fantabulous, super-eared hero, the impossibly handsome Rolando Locomotov. The muscle-bound heartthrob heard the trapped kids' cries. He pried open the elevator doors, and the children were free in no time. Rolando took the children up to their apartment and used his super cooking powers to make Mommy's chowder almost edible. Then he said this. Kids, Mary, Jerry, all of you, except for Billy. Billy knows this already. Elevators aren't toys. Never jump or play around in them. And if you do ever get stuck in an elevator, press the alarm button to call for help. Don't worry, help will come. Remember that, and you'll be fine. Stay smart and stay safe. And hey, how does hopscotch work anyway? It's baffled me forever. One day, Mommy and Mary went to the store to buy some delicious onions so Mommy could make her semi-famous onion soup. But on the way, they ran into Mommy's grumpy friend Vera, who bragged that she had just bought the very last onions in the whole store. Mary instantly got dangerously bored and skipped off after a passing butterfly. She followed it around the corner and into the park, but she soon realized she'd lost sight of both the butterfly and Mommy. Mary wanted to ask one of the people passing by for help, but she knew she wasn't supposed to talk to strangers. What was she going to do? Cry? Yep, she was going to cry. A lot. But guess who was flying by on his way to Fred's Discount Tights Emporium? Yup, Rolando Locomotov. The hero knew Mary's mommy very, very well. So he took poor Mary by the hand and led her back to her very worried mother. Then he offered some good advice. Children everywhere. Yes, that includes you. If you're out somewhere, always stay close to your mommy or trusted grown-up. Also, you need to learn your address by heart, as well as your mommy or trusted grown-up's phone number. So, if you do get lost, you can easily find your way back to where you belong. Remember, always stay with your grown-up. Stay smart, stay safe. Now I'm off to buy some quality bargain price tights. One fairly nice day, Mary and Jerry went to the woods with Mommy and Daddy to get some fresh air and maybe pick some mushrooms. As they hiked deeper into the forest, Jerry and Mary decided to play a mean little prank on Mommy and Daddy. They hid behind a tree so the grown-ups would think they'd gotten lost. Mommy and Daddy ran around calling their names, but they didn't answer. They just hid and giggled. But pretty soon, it got dark, and there aren't any streetlights in the woods, so it got double extra turbo dark. The kids cried out for help! But Mommy and Daddy were too far away to hear them. But someone with double extra turbo hearing did hear them. The magnificent Rolando Locomotov flew down to save the day. Night. Using his amazing Illuminatron 8 zillion, he found Jerry and Mary and took them back to their very worried parents and delivered this important safety lesson. Kids, Jerry, Mary, Steve, Yolanda, all of you, if you're in the woods, don't wander off and lose sight of your grown-ups. It's crazy easy to get lost in the woods, and woods can get very dark and very scary. So never wander off. Stay with the grown-ups, stay smart, and stay safe. And also maybe don't traumatize your parents for fun, please.